Welcome to the Galactic Core Podcast. Here to review the latest films and TV shows from all your favorite intergalactic universes. Now, it's time to get your geek on. Please welcome your host, the prophesized chosen one. It's Andy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Galactic Core Podcast. This week, we are still talking about Marvel's Loki Season 2. We've got Episode 4 this week, an amazing episode with a real cliffhanger to end it all. And obviously, as I do every single time, I've got some absolutely fantastic and amazing guests joining me to discuss all things Loki and Marvel. These guys have their obviously own podcast. They've been going since March 2022 last year. They cover all superhero things as well as some other films and bits. They are really good to listen to. I love their energy. If you're not following them, you really need to be. I love when their videos pop up on TikTok because they have a good laugh together. They've got such a good time and it's really worth doing. But please welcome to the show. We have got Danny and we've got Messi from Unqualified Heroes Podcast.
Unqualified Heroes!
And they don't even need a round of applause because they are their own hype machines.
Oh yeah. Thank you for having us on. We very much appreciate it. We're stoked to be here.
Yeah. It's been a fun time.
Really excited to have you guys on. Thank you very much for getting up nice and early, as you guys are. Obviously, time difference for myself in the UK with every guest I have on is always a bit wild at times. So I really do appreciate getting up early, guys, to come on. So, Danny, tell us a little bit about your podcast. You know, the reasons why you guys got together and started it, and obviously after that, Messi, you can tell us a little bit about your sort of nerd credentials and why you love things like Marvel in general.
All right. So our podcast is Unqualified Heroes. Andy, you did a phenomenal job kind of talking about our podcast and what we do. So originally we started out with just like Marvel and DC. And then, well, for one, there's not always projects 20 like year round. So we're like, all right, we're super big nerds. Let's just also branch out to Star Wars. And I know myself and Messi too. We just love watching movies in general. So we're like, let's just talk about movies in general. So we just kind of started branching out more and more, and it's just been a wild ride. It's been fun, and we figured we talk about it all the time. And whenever we're together or on the PlayStation chat, we're already talking about it. We're like, we might as well just record it and then have our own podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how everything started. And I guess our credentials, I think we've been fans of nerdy stuff since I was born. The first movie that I saw in theaters as a kid, I think was Spider-Man. As soon as it came out, it was 2002. I was like 2 years old when that movie came out. So I think I've been a big fan, I think, myself, since everything started. I saw Iron Man in the beginning on 08 in the theater as well. I've just been fans. And then, like Danny said, when they got closer to us, like, we just talk about it so much. I think like my girlfriend at the time and his girlfriend at the time were like so annoyed of us that we just talking about it. So it's like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's start a podcast, and then just now we're here.
Nice. So, what do you prefer then? Because you said you obviously do discuss a few things. What's your favorite thing to discuss? Is it Marvel? Is it Star Wars, DC? Is it something else completely? You know, what is it that really draws you in when you get this most passionate and most excited about?
Messi.
Well, for me personally, I am a movie nerd. So I went to film school and I study movies, and me in general, I like to talk about the movie part of it, just like the production and all that, lighting and colors and how it looks and the feel of it. That's my side. So I like to watch more of the outside of the MCU movies because there's so much work out there that's like so good. But of course, I like the nostalgic feel, just like with Loki and all the new stuff with Phase 4 and Phase 5 bring on the old characters. It's just like that feeling that you get in the theater watching all those characters. So it really depends. So like, depend the movie, how good the movie really is, or the nostalgic part of it. That's like my part I like talking about.
Yeah, I know for myself, although I am a huge movie person, I'm watching a movie at least once a day or every other day, just in movies in general. I'm gonna have to narrow it down and specifically say MCU movies. Not all the shows have been hits. Yes, Loki has been a hit, but most of the MCU shows have just been a roller coaster of up and down. But the Marvel movies just always seem more of a complete story. It doesn't seem like it's all over the place. Have they all hit? No, but it just gives you that experience. You're in the movie theater. You're not at home sitting on your couch. So it just gives me more of that like OG feeling of Phase 1 through 3.
That's fair enough. I mean, not to put you guys on the spot, but if you would have to pick your favorite MCU project, phases 1 through 5, completely up to where we are now. So your all-time favorite MCU film or TV series, what would you guys have at number 1? Danny, do you want to start us off?
Well, I feel like Infinity War is a notorious favorite among the fan base, but if I'm not gonna go Infinity War, I'm actually gonna go Civil War. And I know a lot of people like Winter Soldier better, or Guardians better, or whatever, Spider-Man No Way Home better, but I really love Civil War just because we say this on, well, not we, I say this on the pod all the time. I am a very huge fanatic towards villains that are more composed, more smart, as well as team up movies. So having Zemo as the face of Civil War, just being like, I don't know, just being smart rather than just having powers and trying to beat whoever they're facing, as well as just having multiple MCU characters in that movie being a quote unquote team up movie. It was a huge hit for me. So Civil War, if I'm not picking Infinity War.
And would you say you're looking forward to the next team up film, which I guess would be Thunderbolts?
I'm looking forward to every single team up film there is. The more MCU characters you give me, the better.
Fair enough. Messi, what have you got? What's your favorite project?
I could narrow it down to Guardians 1, Guardians 2, or Guardians 3. I just love the whole trilogy. I'm just gonna say Guardians trilogy. I don't know if that works for your question, but Guardians of the trilogy is awesome.
No, that's absolutely fair. You can, we'll allow that. To be fair, the trilogy as a whole is good. I mean, again, because I kind of breach. I guess now the multiverse is a thing with the MCU that we can include projects maybe slightly outside of that. So if I include like the Netflix shows, then I'm thinking maybe Daredevil's my all-time favorite.
It's a good show
of everything there. So, and I'm a huge Punisher fan as well. Season 2 of Daredevil for me has probably been my favorite all-time Marvel TV show or film that's been done.
Season 2, really?
It's interesting. It's like usually people say like season 2 is like the lowest one out of the 3. So like it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Wow. Okay.
I thought the Punisher story rolled in with the hand. Yeah, it gets a bit cheesy with Elektra at times, true. But I think the whole thing just sort of rolls through quite well. I was hugely disappointed. I seem to be someone that likes the Defenders show more than most as well.
Yeah.
Considering it's not that long in terms of episode, it's only 8 episodes, and they don't really team up till the end of episode 3. It took a bit long for me to get together. But at the same point, I think I defend those shows maybe a little bit more than most people do. I enjoyed them for the most part.
It's okay. I defend Moon Knight more than most people do.
But Moon Knight was awesome. So
that's what I'm saying. But apparently, people don't agree.
What? Oh, Messi.
I don't know. It's good until the end. Like the end ruins it for me a lot. It's as I keep saying, in the MCU, the 6th episode sucks on almost every other show. And they proved my point. They did not disappoint that the 6th episode sucks. I don't want to get into it because there's like a whole episode on that, but yeah.
No, okay, I can see where you're coming from. 6 episode shows do struggle, I think, to maybe get through the story well without. It's not always the best paced, are they? 6 episode ones. So Star Wars have gone down the route of doing slightly longer ones for the most part. They tend to do we had Ahsoka that was 8 episodes, Andor was 12, and Andor needed it because it was such a slow burn that then ramped up towards the end. So I think Marvel needs to take that hint and go, we need slightly longer episodes. Either give us longer episodes to tell more of the story, make them an hour long, not this thing where they seem to have this habit, don't they, of starting off where generally they're about 40, 45 minutes long, and then they seem to cut them down to like 30, 35.
Yeah,
and you then
there's
episodes.
like 7 to 10 minutes of credits.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. So we're being lied to about how long an episode is. I'm like, oh cool, it's 50 minutes long this week. No, it's 41. But I mean, out of everything that's coming up, obviously we've got everything planned up to really the end of Secret Wars. Is there anything that you guys are particularly really, really looking forward to above all else? I always love this question because it's so interesting. It gives an insight into people's different favourites of obviously characters anyway. But, we've got things like the Fantastic Four coming. We know the X-Men are going to come at some point. I imagine as part of maybe Kang Dynasty Secret Wars, and they'll fully do their films after that, apart from Deadpool, obviously, that we've got coming at some point, hopefully next year. But is there anything overall, like Messi, what's your favourite upcoming project that you can't wait for?
I think I can speak for both, for Danny and I. I'm not sure on that, but I think Deadpool 3 is the one that we're most looking forward. Just because of one, Hugh Jackman is coming back, and Ryan Reynolds spoke and said that Disney has little control on the movie, so it will be mostly like the originals, the first two. So I'm really happy about that. Disney has a reputation when they get into control, they kind of ruin stuff in some parts. But I'm excited just because of that Disney's not really controlling on it. But of course, it's Deadpool. You can't go wrong with Deadpool. The first two movies were awesome, and then especially when you bring in Hugh Jackman back, it's awesome.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be tying in, isn't it, to Loki? Because obviously we're getting the TVA Mobius in there, so they've got they can't all be dead. We'll get to that in this episode, but but Danny, you agreeing Deadpool? You're most looking forward to
100%. You got most likely a bunch of cameos. Probably Cheese Swift. I'm not a Swiftie. I just wanted to say that. But
I don't know. You're becoming one. You keep bringing her up almost every day. I think you're becoming a Swiftie.
I have not. I just like the drama it brings. But yeah, probably her. A bunch of more cameos from hopefully all these Fox movies, Marvel movies from the past. We just love Deadpool breaking the fourth wall. It's amazing. However, I will say outside of Marvel projects, the project I'm looking most forward to is actually coming up very soon. It is the Hunger Games prequel, Songbirds and Snakes. I said it multiple times. I love Hunger Games. It's arguably one of my favorite series of all time that's outside of Marvel. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that movie.
I think if we're talking outside of the our main sort of franchises, to be fair, I'm probably thinking Boys season 4 is the thing that I'm looking forward to. I was a bit of a latecomer to The Boys. I didn't start watching it from the start until it was about halfway through series 3. So I came to it a little bit late, but got to binge watch it. Obviously, so by the time series 3 finished, I was obviously up to series 3, so I got to binge watch it all together. And
that's around the same time I started watching as well. Have you watched Gen V?
Well, not yet. I've been waiting for that to finish because I'm going to do an episode reviewing the entire series. So I think I don't know if the finale was this week or if it's next week. But I've basically been waiting for it to end so I can then binge it all again in one go, and then I'm going to do a bit of a review on that. And then I don't know when I'm going to get series 4 of The Boys, but I think I'm really looking forward to that. To be fair, so. But right now we are going to do my ridiculous weekly game of MCU or Real Life You. So in this stupid little game that I like to play every week when we're reviewing an MCU show, I'm going to give you guys an MCU character, their real life actor or actress that plays them, and your co-host, and I want you to tell me who you would rather spend the day at a theme park with. So who do you want to hit the rides with? Who do you want to hang out, get some sweets with, vomit the sweets up again, and then just generally have a good time for the day? So, Danny, we're going to start with you. And you've got Groot, Vin Diesel, or Messi. And to be fair, you can pick any version of Groot from the films that you want. So the original Groot from film 1, and then baby Groot, toddler Groot, slightly more adult Groot. But
I
Groot,
won't
Vin
be mad.
Diesel or Messi?
I won't be mad.
Okay, so if it was between all those people, I'm gonna have to go Groot of season 1. He just seems like he's kind of a menace, but he's also like, you can also communicate with him more than Baby Groot. I feel like I could just do a bunch of stupid stuff with that Groot. He could get me into places I can't go by myself. So
fair enough. I think I
sorry,
always...
Messi.
That's okay. I would have picked Groot too. It's okay.
I think I would have picked Baby Groot just because of how cute he is, to be fair. And he's
I guess here's a good question. Do I understand the Groot language when I'm with Groot?
Well, we do now as of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, don't we? So
yes, I think
okay.
You can understand it.
Yeah, it'd be pretty pointless if you couldn't, to be fair. So
Yeah.
a bit of a cruel twist. Is like you get Groot for the day, but you don't understand a single word that he's saying. But Messi, we've got your choices. So you've got Nebula, Karen Gillan, or your co-host Danny.
Oh, Nebula is kind of
She's scary.
Oh, hard. Yeah, she's very scary. I don't know. I think I will pick Nebula because like Disney is like so overpacked with people. I feel like with Nebula I can get every single ride without waiting. She'll be like that Karen in real life is like, hey, I want to get in now, and now it's my turn, and then I will get on all the rides. So she's scary enough to scare people. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, she's like a bodyguard, but like she's just scaring the people away.
She ain't going to bother waiting around and queuing, is she? She's going to be straight to the front, or I will blow your head off.
Exactly. So if I get in by 8 o'clock, I'll get out at 12. I read all the rides. I'm in and out. Just with her.
Nice. So, Danny, your next set of choices. We've got Shuri, Letitia Wright, or your co-host, Messi.
Ooh. This is pretty interesting. I'm gonna I'll go Shuri. Honestly, I could go any of these three. Messi, he's kind of there. Letitia Wright, she's actually just a very brilliant person. I've watched a lot of her interviews that she's had. She's super smart, and she just seems like a very fun person to hang out with. But Shuri, I mean, she can make me something. like that's just free vibranium technology at my disposal. Most likely, I'll be like, hey, can I get a suit? Maybe not a suit, but like, can I get something? Maybe like those bracelets or something. I don't know. Give me something, I'd be really happy. So
you're not actually bothered about spending the day with Shuri, getting to know her and stuff, and having lunch with her. Just like, hey, hit me up with some free tech, please. You're not going to miss it. You got plenty of vibranium. Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, look, Shuri's cool and all, but if I had to pick between like just getting to know someone, I'd actually pick the Letitia Wright. But I'm just using Shuri for her tech. Sorry, Shuri.
What a bad friend.
She's going to whoop your ass.
She probably would.
And then the last choices for you, Messi, we've got Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, or your co-host Danny.
I'll pick Charlie Cox. I actually seen videos of him just being himself, and he looks like a really fun person to be around. He just saw like a recent photo of him being as Bluey on a convention. That was very funny. So like I feel like me and Danny, we went to a convention a couple months ago, and we didn't dress up. I feel like if I go with him, I will be like, I don't know, a psychic. I don't know the show, but I'll be like some other Bluey character just with him on a Comic-Con convention. So yeah, I'll pick Charlie Cox instead of Daredevil or Danny.
I respect that. We were freaking out just looking at him like 30 feet away from us, signing other people's autographs. We're like, let's Charlie Cox. And we were freaking out, and we're like, not even next to him. We're just in the back of the line freaking out.
So, I forgot we saw him. I got to go to Star Wars Celebration this year because it was in the UK.
Oh, nice.
And whilst
Nice.
didn't
Oh
get to,
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Our friend wanted to go, but that's expensive to fly all the way over
it
there.
was expensive. I literally went up for the Saturday and spent the entire day, and then came back home on the same day. But yeah, even then, like I didn't get to see anyone big like Hayden Christensen. Although we did see them on the stage, but I mean, where they were signing, obviously loads of people there signing autographs, and you get to see a few of them. And I was just like, oh, it's so and so, and that's so and so. And you had like I can't remember her name, but the little girl that plays Leia in the Kenobi series.
Oh,
She
yeah,
was
yeah.
just
Okay.
like stood right up there. The guy that plays Chewbacca who's inside the costume. Like a
Nice.
few of them are just out in the open, like
That's
signing
really cool.
autographs, as opposed to like being behind the desks and behind screens, like all the big
Yeah.
stars were, so to speak. So, but yeah, even that is just like amazing. You just get to stand and go, these are people that I get to watch on TV, and now they're just stood in front of me. It never ceases
Yeah,
to amaze me
whenever
how
we
cool it
took
is.
a picture with Hayden Christensen, which was a super awesome opportunity, we were like, oh, we just breathed the same air as Hayden Christensen. It's just so like stupid, but it was really funny.
It was bad because I froze. Like I didn't know how to react in front of him. So I bought that saber. I bought that saber on that convention that day to take a photo with Darth Vader himself. And if you see the photo, the saber is not visible whatsoever.
So funny.
I had one job and one job only, and I failed. To show the
Yeah, instead
lightsaber
of having
there.
it up, he has the saber down from like how freaking out he was. Wasn't even thinking. It's pretty funny. I was like, bro,
yeah.
you just spent over $100 on a saber that didn't even get to show on the picture.
Yeah, I did really want to get an autograph with him, but unfortunately, it was so expensive. To be fair,
Yeah. Oh my god. Dude.
I mean, it was
Tell me
approaching
about it.
like. I mean, if I get the ratio right, it's about 250 quid over here, which equates to about $300, I think, for you guys. Just to
Yeah,
have,
that
like,
sounds
an
about
autograph
right.
and stuff with him. So I was just like, I really want. I was like, this is what credit cards are made for, but I couldn't bring myself quite to do it. So
That's pretty funny.
It's like-
this is what
it's
credit
like a-
cards are made for. Just swipe.
It's like an Andy Future problem. He'll pay for it later on the road, but
Yeah,
it was,
this is future
it was
me's
stressful.
problem.
exactly. And now the future's here, and I've got credit card debt. So it's. But thanks for. I mean, so doing this game's always interesting because the amount of people that never pick their co-host, and like I said to you guys before, it's like of course there's a few arguments, but they haven't picked their co-host because they're picking other people. So it's always amusing to have a go. But that wraps up this week's MCU or Real Life You. Now we've got some Loki to discuss. Season 2, episode 4. How have you guys been feeling about this series so far? Because it's pretty much. I'm almost thinking of season 1 and season 2 as one big long one. Because normally between any season of shows, there's a bit of a gap. At least some of the other events go on, but obviously season 2 literally picks up on the beat of where season 1 ended, and so there's been no real time gap or anything. Everything's rolled into one. So I guess you could almost treat it as one, but. From everything that's gone on up to where we are before this week's episode, so up to episode 3, Messi, tell me, what have your thoughts been of Loki so far?
Season 2 of Loki has been a high roller coaster. Like I feel like there's no bad episodes as of right. Me personally, I don't think there's a bad episode yet. It's awesome. I freaking Jonathan Majors, when he came in on the last episode, he freaking killed it. Like comparing him to the other two persons that we see him act as in Kang and Who He Remains, you can tell it's a different person. And oh my god, it's so freaking good. I can't wait for the last 2 episodes, and obviously this one ended with a huge cliffhanger. I forgot the word. You know what I mean. Yeah, there you go. But this so far it's been great. No bad episodes, no filler episodes, which I hate about 6 episodes shows that do out of 5 that do a filler episode in between. And like you said earlier, there's no gap, so it's picked up right where it left off. So like you said, it feels like a really long season. Originally, it was written like a 12 episode season, but because of COVID, they had to cut it and all that stuff. But yeah, so I'm excited. It's really good.
Danny, how have you been feeling about season 2 so far?
I'm loving it. Loki is arguably one of the best, if not the best, show, depending on who you're asking, of all the Marvel shows. And I thought season 1 was really good. I think season 2 so far is better than season 1. Like the first 4 of season 2 is better than the first 4 of season 1. The lowest rated episode to me is probably episode 2. But even then, episode 2 is still good. Like Messi was saying, Jonathan Majors' performance as Kang, Victor Timely is just phenomenal. Loki continues to deliver on his end. Who knew that, like, way back then in phase 1 that Loki would be one of the faces of the future saga of this saga. So it's really just a fun time, and I can't wait. There's only 2 more episodes, and the finale of this last episode is gonna probably have some serious effects of what goes around the rest of the MCU.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we start off this episode, and it starts off, I think it's almost exactly the same to the way that the finale of season 1 starts. So it, both sort of go through. Obviously, the season 1 finale goes through the timeline. You hear all the different voices of MCU characters and stuff, and then it focuses on coming to the Citadel at the end of time. And this episode starts off by going through all the branch timelines, and it's just a muddle of voices that you hear before focusing on the Citadel in a time that is obviously a bit run down now and a bit destroyed. And we immediately get this question answered from last week's episode, was what was it that Miss Minutes is going to tell Renslayer, the big secret that's going to make her very angry. And pretty much spot on for 90% of the predictions, I think, wasn't it? In terms of, it's revealed that Renslayer knew He Who Remains before, and that she was actually the one that led his army in the multiversal war and helped him win it. And then, she's sent back to the TVA, and He Who Remains gets Miss Minutes to basically wipe everyone's memory and start the TVA as it is from there. How are you guys feeling about the start of this episode?
You want to say what your prediction was for what her secret was?
I was way off. Because I'm getting used to this prediction bullcrap that I just predict something and never happens. I'm getting used to it.
99% of his predictions are wrong.
Yeah, it never happens.
Do not feel bad. My predictions never come round. So
it's so dumb. I think if as nerds, I think we can write a better show with all their predictions and all that stuff. But I actually was not expecting to be that the secret. My secret. My prediction was that Miss Minute is a future self of Renova, whatever her name is, because
Renslayer.
Renslayer, yeah. She goes, I know a lot of him, and I'm thinking it's like, okay, so Renova, Renslayer is like a love interest of Kang, and then eventually they'll get to the point, and then eventually Kang's like, oh, she's dying. Okay, so let me make an AI with her, and then Miss Minute is of her soul or her mind, or just like Jarvis is to Tony Stark. It's like a mind in itself. So I don't know. That was my theory. It's just like he took her soul, make it a thing, and I don't know.
I don't think you were too far off, because I heard a few predictions that Miss Minutes was going to be something that was based off of, Ravonna Renslayer in the past. Because a lot of the predictions were that He Who Remains and Renslayer would have been husband and wife in the past, because they're married in the comics,
right?
Yeah,
and this was the big prediction. So, I don't think you were too far off in thinking that was obviously a possibility,
right?
So,
right.
I don't think it's ridiculous.
Sucks.
It's not ridiculous, Messi, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because like everyone else, to be fair, I just assumed that it was either going to be revealed that she was a variant of Kang, like a female variant, in the same way that Sylvie's a variant of Loki, or that they were married in the past and he just wipes her memories and puts her in charge of the TVA. So I was half there, to be fair. But
okay,
Danny, what did you think about the start of this episode then, and that big reveal, so to speak?
I really liked it. My secret is a little more toned down from what it was versus Messi's was like way toned up too high. I just thought the secret was that they were lovers in like a previous, like in the past, which it didn't necessarily say they were lovers. It just said that she was leading his army. So I wasn't wrong, but I wasn't like the worst far off. But yeah, I really liked the fact that he kind of like just wiped their minds wiped everyone's minds, but that he had her as the person who leads this great army to defeat all these other Kang variants, because that means that she's pretty OP to some level. Does she have power? I feel, I don't know. Does she, like, if you're gonna beat a bunch of kings, I feel like you kind of gotta at least have, you gotta have something. You gotta have some sort of upper hand to
beat
I don't
them.
know.
Yeah,
To
They
beat
had
them.
Goliath though, didn't they? So
They did have Goliath. That's true.
pretty bad.
So I don't really know how Renslayer defeated this Kang variant army, but I thought it was pretty cool just seeing that she was at least OP to some extent in a previous life or in an old life.
Yeah. And what to me was interesting is if this is the point in which everyone who works for the TVA gets their memories wiped, because before that they must have had obviously a conscious knowledge of the war between all the Kang variants and the multiversal war, and they were all recruited to come and fight in the war, so to speak, apart from maybe some that were picked out of the timeline. So it makes it interesting maybe to think that all these people were recruited throughout the various different points across the timeline to join the TVA in battle in the multiversal war. It sort of suggests quite an interesting side story there to me of how they were all recruited, and then it sucks to have your memory wiped, and then you're just thinking, okay, I just work for the TVA.
Yeah.
Though obviously they discuss it a bit later on with Sylvie and Mobius about the fact that Mobius doesn't seem interested in finding out at all about what his life was like on the timeline. Do you guys find this strange at all? I mean, if it was you guys, would you want to go and know about the life you were taken away from, or you were like, it doesn't matter because this is my life now?
I feel it's kind of risky. I think I can see his point out of it. Like you said, I think he's enjoying his life right now, and I think he's probably too scared to see what could have been, because we don't know who he was before the TVA. He could be like a mass murderer, or a person who was lonely, or a person who just lost so much that you don't want to go there. Probably doesn't know that though. So it's a flip of a coin at this point. So either you were a good guy, or you were a sad person, or you just don't know who you were. Like some people don't know who they are, and even though they're just regular people. Or you were rich, or you were awesome. You were like have jet skis and everywhere that you go, just like he wants to do. I still want that scene. I still want him, Owen Wilson, to ride a jet ski. So me personally, it's honestly, I will stay where he is right now. I wouldn't want to find out.
What about you, Danny? What would your
So
choice be?
I 100% see Mobius's point, because, like, yeah, your life could be better somewhere else. But also what he said, where I believe Sylvie was like, oh, you're too scared to see if your life is better. He's like, no, I'm scared to see if my life is worse, because that means, like, all this bad stuff happened to me. So I see his point. It could be bad. It could be good. And if I had the willpower, I would not do it. But I don't. I am too nosy. I want to know with everything.
Yeah.
So I would just do it. I would hate myself for doing it, but I would do it. And hopefully I find out that I'm just a regular person and nothing special or bad happens to me.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I'd be too intrigued with what my life was on the timeline. I'd have to go and find out, and then I'd be like, well, I kind of work for a company that rules time. So I think I'd happily go find out if my life was like it is now. If I was kidnapped to be a TVA agent, I'd be like, cool, my life is okay. It's not too bad, but I work for a company that controls time and and does stuff with timelines. That's far more interesting than what I do now. So
yeah, 100%. Like this is, I think they have the best job ever. Yeah,
you get to mess with the timeline. It's
and
fun.
unlimited pie.
Exactly.
Unlimited green pie.
All the same pie. I'm sure I saw a poster in the canteen that said Pie of the Week, so I wonder if they do change it every week, and it was like
it's not always green pie.
Well, I'm hoping not, because it did say Pie of the Week on there, and so hopefully it's just one pie in every chamber in that in that canteen for the entire week, and then someone comes in and swaps them out for something different. So, but back in this episode, then, so we get obviously Victor Timely arrives back at the TVA. And everyone's obviously trying to convince him that they need him to come with him. And I love that moment where he's staring up at the artwork on the wall, where it's got the pictures of the Time Lords, and obviously a picture of technically what was the multiversal war between the different Kang variants. And then we just jumping a little bit ahead, but we get obviously B-15 is chatting to, I can't remember her name, but the other sort of judge, and saying you need to go and talk to Docs and get them on side, preparing to fight with them. And then we get B-15 obviously goes and talks to Docs and Brad, and says to them all, we're going to need you. Any thought on Dox's actions so far in this series? Because some people have been technically doing calculations, and it's been worked out that when she pruned a load of those timelines, she killed more people than Thanos did with a snap. So technically, she's the multiverse or the universe's biggest mass murderer right now.
We actually did talk about it because we keep track of like the highest kill count. Thanos was up there, and then now obviously this lady just destroyed timelines and countless of 100% life, because Thanos just took 50% on one universe. This girl just destroyed timelines. So for that part, we both think she is the highest kill count. But I really don't understand and what side she really is, because she was on B-15 side, which are trying to save the TVA, and she knows they're trying to save it, but also she wouldn't go with Renslayer, who are quote unquote trying to save the TVA on their way. So like, I'm not sure what side she really is, because she obviously didn't pick a side. So I don't know. I don't understand what's her plan, or what's she trying to do, at least, because she ain't going nowhere right now. So that's what that part got me like. I don't know what you want. I don't understand what you're trying to do, because she wasn't really clear on what she wanted to do with her stuff, or like to do with her crew, other than just destroying timelines and all the stuff. Like the protocol will say with the TVA is just clear those timelines, prune all of them, make sure that's on one. But I'm not sure which one. Yeah.
Danny, any thoughts about her actions?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly on the same point as Messi. It's interesting because it seemed like all it took was a small talk from B-15, and like her mind didn't technically change, but like it kind of changed. Like she's like, maybe I should help them out. So it was like, if all it took was one talk, I mean, did you really have to kill all those people? You can just have a sit down first, talk through it, see what's the best plan to go about it. But instead, you just have to kill all these timelines.
They did on the first episode. They did
talk about.
And she said, "No, screw y'all. I'm gonna do it my way." And then she's in jail.
That's true. That's true. That's why you should have talked about it twice.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, fair. I think I tried to understand it as originally she wanted to stick to what the TVA did, which was prune the timelines, to keep the sacred timeline in place. But and so she goes off to prune them. But once she's caught, and they know that basically Renslayer is doing things for her own purpose and her own power play, rather than the lies that she says that Renslayer says she's doing it for the TVA, but she's not. She's doing it obviously for her own motives. And Dox is clever enough to realise that and say that she would rather protect the TVA as it is now, or to be as it's changed to be, rather than let Renslayer manipulate it for her own power purposes. And she was obviously willing to, as we'll get to, die for that reasoning, no matter how quickly she changed her mind. So I guess once you're locked up with a time collar around your neck, you might change your mind fairly sharpish, to be fair. But back in this episode, we get where obviously Victor Timely's taken down to meet OB. And I was waiting and anticipating this because I thought this was going to be a great little exchange. And he obviously gets to see him, and he's like, Ouroboros. And they have this little geek out moment where, Timely basically tells him that he learned everything from the TVA handbook that obviously OB wrote. And then OB reveals that he learned everything for writing the time book from this 19th century inventor called Victor Timely. And that's when they realise that, they're obviously the same people or the same person. And it brings up an interesting question, though, because they obviously talk about the whole thing about, it's like a snake eating its tail. It's just a time loop circle. And there's been theories going around that almost all the actions they're taking in this series are still part of the same time loop of what the multiversal war is. So the timelines are unleashed, all the Kangs come forward, he who remains wins at the end of the day, creates the TVA, and they end up just going back in this huge loop of time. Obviously, Messi's screaming and shouting here.
Yeah, he's been saying that's one of his predictions.
I said this in the very first episode that everything that's going on is gonna happen again. Everything that had this one on Loki already happened. Everything's gonna loop again. Who he remains gonna go back in power. That's why he already planned it, because he knows already how everything went, because he is Victor. Well, I don't know, he's Victor Timely now, but he is king. So he is the one out of every person alive in the MCU. He's the only one who knows how time really works, because he obviously he won the position of who he remains. It's gonna loop every. I mean, it makes sense. Nobody believed me. Danny didn't even believe me. No one believed me. Thank you,
Nobody
Andy.
believed me.
Thank you, Andy, for being on my side on this. That you also see the point that everything's gonna start where it started on season 1.
So it is getting to the position where, obviously, I think at some point, I don't think it's necessarily going to happen in this series, but at some point along, obviously Kang Dynasty, that some action is taken that leads to a different outcome to the multiversal war, where the Kangs get defeated rather than conquering the various timelines, and then have to battle each other out for the control of it. I think it's interesting. It was always a question: is Victor Timely the one who becomes He Who Remains? Especially since He Who Remains has isolated this particular timeline to be the sacred timeline. So it would have spoken true that he was born in this timeline. And then you've got Victor Timely, who we saw from the start when he dropped off the handbook as a kid. He's part of the sacred timeline as well. So it would have made sense that He Who Remains puts a younger himself on the path to becoming who he is. So it's still going to be interesting, obviously, with what happened at the end of this episode, if what happens with Victor Timely, if that's just it, or what else goes on. But we don't know whether, like I said, whether they're going to change events in the next couple of episodes to disrupt this loop in time. But it does, like you said, I'm glad that you thought about it as well, Messi, that it was all just one big time loop, and what's happened has already happened and is happening again. And it's going to be, like I said, my prediction, as bad as they usually have been, is Kang Dynasty is where the things change. And they managed to stop it. So it's interesting, though, isn't it, that everything is happening as it is, and they all think they're taking actions to change the timeline, whereas in fact they're just reenacting stuff that has already been predetermined, especially when they think that they've broken the hold that He Who Remains had over free will. So they think that they've given everyone free will, and in fact they're just enacting the same thing over and over again when it's not
the
free
same
will.
Thing. Still, that's my problem with Sylvie. She keeps saying, "Oh, I got free will, free will." It's like, bro, you don't have any free will. Everything that you're doing is being written. Who Remains said it on the last episode. Everything that you're doing is already being written. I already know what you're gonna do. Everything that's gonna happen, I already know. She's keep getting in. She's so annoying about the freaking free will stuff. Like, you don't have free will. What are you doing? Oh, King already know that you said you got free will. No, you don't, bro. It's already been written.
I have to admit, she has been a bit annoying in the series so far, because I was just like, you need to get out of this whole thing of all you want to do is kill Kang variants and think that you can suffer no consequences to your new life because of this. Like, it's your fault that the multiverse is emerging as it is anyway, because you killed He Who Remains, and you've got to deal with the consequence of that. And the consequence of that is you've got to help the guys at the TVA sort shit out, because it's your fault in the first place. You know, you couldn't keep your lifelong obsession under wraps that you just wanted to kill He Who Remains that would put you on this path, when you'd already been destined to go down this path as it is. So now you've got to deal with that. And she just doesn't deal with it very well. Until I was hoping, obviously, the end of the last episode, when she chose to let Victor Timely go, this was going to be her change of attitude. She still honks on in this episode about it, which we get in an upcoming scene where she's giving Mobius that hard time, as we spoke about. And then she has this conversation with Loki, where she's just like, she's still in this attitude, we just need to burn it all down to the ground and either let things be or we start again fresh. And Loki, in this particular scene, this to me is where there's been obviously a big change of Loki, in terms of he seems to have become, I don't know how much that maybe Marvel are trying to make him into a superhero rather than a villain at this point, because he now has this whole attitude of, I know he's had some moving forward of the previous way he was, so he's had some character development in terms of he's not when he's talking about his past and he's looking at it from his point of view in terms of none of this was tactical. I was playing on emotion. I was angry. I was, not good with it. And now he's kind of accepted that and tried to change. And he tries to convince Sylvie in this episode that it's harder to have hope and to make the effort to try than it is to just abandon stuff and start again. What if the difference between Sylvie and Loki is obviously quite plain in this series and how they're approaching things, but then Loki's development himself is coming quite rapidly, because obviously they had to take Loki from where he was up to Infinity War. That Loki kind of been erased, and they had to take him from where he was at the Avengers, of this petty, childish, younger brother type person, and give him the character development that he'd sort of got up to Infinity War. So, are you happy with the development you've seen from Loki that this series has given him?
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's cool, and it actually just like adds more. Well, I mean, it is what it is. Character development to this character, more layers, that it's like there was something under there that you didn't see at first. I mean, we didn't expect that come Avengers 1 and all this stuff. I mean, we kind of saw it in Infinity War, but like between Infinity War and Ragnarok, he was still doing mischievous things a little bit in Ragnarok. So it's like, even though he died a hero, but so this is just like really come full circle at a rapid pace, and I'm really liking this. It just shows that really anyone could be a hero. And I know sometimes they do like sometimes we hate like when a superhero is talking to the villain instead of like fighting them, and they're like, oh, but you could be a good guy, it's okay. And we're like, bro, just punch him, because like we hate the talking thing. But this was like a different twist to that. Instead of having like superhero talk to villain to make villain like good, it is like he did it on his own, essentially. I mean, yeah, he saw his life flash to his eyes, but he still did it on his own. He made his own choices to change who he was and not act on anger and all of that, the same way I guess Loki's in general have always been destined to do. So it was really cool. I liked it.
Messi, your thoughts on Loki's development?
We actually did like a whole segment on our last week episode just talking about how awesome Tom Hiddleston changed that character from the first time we saw him on, I think, 2010 or something like that, when the first Thor movie came out, to now. He is a completely different person. And we were comparing it like who had the best arc, either Tony Stark or Captain or Loki. And we kind of all agree on the term that Loki has the best arc and
character
character development. Like he went from a really evil person to basically a selfless person. He's basically sacrificed himself to save all the timeline. But something interesting that on that scene that he was talking to Sylvie that she brought up is because she said, we can't be playing gods or God in general, and then he goes, we are gods. So that line tells me that he did change, but there's still like Loki is in there though. Like the Loki that we saw, that he's like not higher than people, but he is a god. So that brought me like, hey, that line was clean.
That was
yeah.
I was waiting for it too, because there was a big pause, and I was like, I know he's got to say something around like this god thing. I was like, he's gonna deliver a really nice line, and he goes, "We are gods." I was like, what the?
It wasn't
mic drop.
I was like, yeah, literally on mic drop, and then he just walks away after that. But yeah, so it was awesome. His character development is awesome. I think so far he is one of the best ones in the whole MCU that we have seen from all the other characters.
Absolutely, to be fair. Someone said this to me the other day, and I was thinking about the comparison, that someone said that Loki is the Kylo Ren of the MCU. It's someone that has a lot of anger, a lot of hate, tries to be a bad person, but constantly gets pulled back to the good side. do you guys see that as him? I mean, because we had some hints in this series so far that he was maybe going to be returning to slightly more villainous actions with the use of his magic throughout this. We see that in the first couple of episodes, and he's a bit more free to use his magic, but he seems to be being reminded every now and again in this series that he is someone who is angry or is obviously had villainous intent in the past. So I was thinking that we were going to get a more of a Loki, or he was going to regress slightly to be a bit more angry and impulsive with his actions and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but do you see that as a fair comparison? I mean, not obviously Kylo Ren isn't everyone's cup of tea, and we won't dive too into that. But in terms of this whole comparison, the fact that he's like someone who wants to be angry and tries to be a baddie, but just because of the actions of those around him, and then eventually his own thoughts and purpose gets pulled back to the light side.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I can see the comparison between him and Kylo. I feel like since the very beginning, I don't think he was ever a villain. I think he was just misunderstood as a kid. He obviously wasn't under the shadow of Thor. He wasn't that person that his father never really took him serious, something like that. So that's why even on I think episode 2, he said, "Oh, just if you have anger, just let it go." I mean, he took over a city in New York and just people hostage. I think that was a funny way of putting like the horrible thing that he did on New York and a short way. She's like, yeah, I was angry, so I just took it out on people. So I think it was just really evil. Even though on this season they've been pushing, like you said, they've been pushing like the hints, like this evil Loki may show up. But I think that also falls on the what we were talking about before, the character development, that he has let go of that anger and that he can play it well, so people can believe that he's back. Because on that interaction with X-15, I think that's his name, on I think 2 episodes ago, they was telling him you're like a bad person, like you don't never change, and then we saw his dark person coming to X-15, and then it was just all playing around, and then freaking Mobius just slapped the F out of him like 2 seconds later. But yeah, I can see the comparison between them two.
So then back in this episode, we get the scene where Renslayer shows up to chat with Dox and Brad and the other prisoners there, and obviously tells them, anyone that's willing to go with her can effectively, once they've served their purpose, can have their life back on the timeline. Which I'm not going to believe Renslayer that she actually would have done that for them anyway. But then obviously we get them all murdered she was psycho crazy girl last week, and this week we see her taking great joy in obviously killing a bunch of people. It was Miss Minutes, the absolute fucking psycho. That's it was so bizarre, because obviously they were in that box and being squeezed into essentially, I guess, mush. Is the way they were all killed. But the fact that the camera is focusing on Miss Minutes taking a lot of glee and joy out of this situation is a bit of a turn up for the books, that she would be like this or this crazy.
She's creepy, bro. But like, we thought she was creepy in season 1 with like a couple jump scares here and there, and then we're like, then last episode with her putting her face over like the thing and trying to have a relationship with Victor Time. We're like, damn, that's creepy and kind of weird. And then she's like, yeah. Like, we're just watching these people get like absolutely get their organs crushed. Oh my gosh. It was just so like, she's an animated clock. She's so creepy.
And I think it made it funnier is, obviously jumping ahead slightly, but when obviously they get Victor Timely and he's sat at the table, and and it just pans around and you see like obviously Renslayer looking at Timely, then it goes to Miss Minutes and she's just like probably giving him some frowny eyes, and he's just like, holy fuck, that's not this psycho clock again. So yeah, Miss Minutes has been a huge turn up in this series for the books.
Yeah, she has been. I don't know if it's people reacted to the show or to the episode specifically, but I feel that this was the most gruesome thing in the whole MCU that we have gotten, because it's literally a box and you can hear everything crushing, the people screaming, like, and then like you said, Miss Minnie cheering on the background like as a really psycho person.
It might be the most gruesome, because like Loki getting his neck snapped, that was pretty good, but like there wasn't like blood anywhere or anything. I mean, granted, we didn't see it, but like you know that's what was all over the floor.
I know there's a box full of blood back there, and I'm surprised it didn't show just a box so small. I would have wished they showed just a box of full of blood, but they didn't. I think that would have been too much. Probably, I think that would have gone from PG to PG-13 to R-rated, like real quick.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting that when B-15 goes to check on them, and obviously just see her acting out the scene. But I was expecting them to just pan round and there'd just be like you said, like a postal box just filled with red, and just be like, that's everyone. And it'd just be like, oh crap. So maybe a boot floating around in it or something.
Yeah,
but definitely out there. But we get back to, obviously, I was going to ask you guys about this actually. So when they're talking about the fact that they need to obviously fix the machine to help the temporal loom, and it was the throughput multiplier. When that was shown at the end of the episode last week, if this was Victor Timely's biggest creation, the thing that he was working on the most, when you first look at it and when he presses the button and it sort of flips the back open, I thought the same thing, and I saw it online a lot, that a lot of people thought this was an early version of Kang the Conqueror's time chair from Ant-Man Quantumania.
Yeah, we thought the same thing.
Yeah. So big, obviously, surprise for me in this episode that all this was a part that could help the temporal loom.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. We can't obviously change that. I was just a little bit disappointed that's what it turned out to be. But what was funny in this particular scene then is the fact that Timely is fixated on the fact there's a hot chocolate machine.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, maybe he comes in with his hot chocolate and he's like, what's that? He's like, a little Mobius pick-me-up. It's hot cocoa from the machine. And he's like, there's a hot cocoa machine? And he's obviously absolutely obsessed with this idea that this machine could make this drink.
I think out of all the things that there's on the TVA, the hot cocoa machine. Yeah.
This guy's read a TVA handbook from front to back and has been creating, versions of it at the back end of the 19th century. And he's like amazed that there's a machine that makes hot chocolate. So either we're living in a golden age and we don't appreciate it that much, or he's getting a bit overexcited about stuff when he's got all the other things around him that he can play with in the TVA. So obviously he goes to go get one with, the Hunter X90 or whatever his name was, who gets pruned by Brad. Well, it seemed weird as well that this Hunter had never tried a hot chocolate as well. If you think they're readily available throughout the timelines and in the TVA, and he seemed to be trying one for the very first time as well. What a time to get pruned, though. The last thing you get to try is a hot chocolate.
It's probably a good hot chocolate too.
Not the worst way to go out in my book. So, and obviously he gets Timely gets taken. We get that scene at as we mentioned at the table where Renslayer and Miss Minutes are talking to him. And they're obviously trying to get everything sorted. And we get what was then predictable in my book from episode 1, where we find out who prunes Loki in episode 1.
The one prediction Messi gave.
So Loki himself is the one that prunes himself. No big, obviously, no big thing there in the fact that I think a lot of people predicted that was the case. But then this was another great mystery is from episode 1. That's who was calling on the phone. I heard so many
all for
things.
nothing.
I heard that it was going to be a version of He Who Remains.
That's what I thought.
Or a variant of Kang somewhere along the line that was calling him to do this. Or even I'd heard future versions of Loki himself were calling at that moment to warn him of something that was to come. And it was the double bluff of it's just OB. Saying, what are you guys doing? Hurry up.
I was like, come on, you got me.
Yeah. So, bit of a fake out, a bit annoying, but we have to deal with it. But we obviously learn as well that they have these, obviously they say they need to reboot the system to get Miss Minutes out of it. And we learn that they have magic dampeners in the TVA. That's what stops people from being able to use their powers there. So I just thought the way they explained it before, obviously in season 1, was it was obviously a bit different. It's just that because it's outside of time and space, it's not the same as the physical timeline, so therefore the magic just doesn't work there. So a few people have posited the theory that do these dampeners stop the Infinity Stones from working there, or is it just that the Infinity Stones? Because they gave the reasoning that these Infinity Stones don't work outside of their own universe. which was kind of debunked a little bit in the What If series finale when they used Infinity Stones from a different universe to battle Ultimate Ultron. So I wasn't sure if that reasoning was proper, but some people have said, now the dampers have turned off, could the Infinity Stones be used to help battle?
That's a good point.
I
don't think they'll use the Infinity Stones, but
no.
I'm sure if they wanted to, it could be a good point.
I mean, Loki always been drawn to the Tesseract, isn't he? Is that part of him? So he's like, if he could get his hands on a working Tesseract, it works.
Do you imagine he brings it back for just like I don't know for what reason he will bring it, but he just brings it just for something. I don't know. I think it would be cool for him to see him back with the staff and the stone and everything. It would be cool.
It would be cool, yeah. But then we get, obviously, Sylvie manages to enchant Brad, so they can obviously distract and go and get Timely back. And what I wasn't expecting was Renslayer to get pruned at this moment in time. I thought that was a little bit unexpected, to be fair. So what are we assuming happens now when people are being pruned? Are they still being sent to that void at the end of time, do you think?
I think so. I think they haven't really changed anything from my understanding, that the void is still a place to go, because didn't she go?
You gotta go somewhere.
Yeah,
you gotta go somewhere.
Then didn't Sylvie send them to the void again? Well, to the who remains lair or castle or whatever.
Yeah, but she didn't prune them. She just took them through like a
yeah, but the void is still there though.
Yeah,
it's still there. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's still there.
And I'm assuming that she's got a £10 in her pocket, so she'll be back pretty quickly. It's not like she's going to be stuck there, to be fair. So, well, obviously, we get again creepy Miss Minutes getting shut down, and she's glitching and going through the bit.
Oh my god!
And she does what anyone does in a moment when they're about to be locked out or shut away or anything like that, where she has one last go at the man who jilted her. And she's just like, Victor, I've got to tell you something. He's like, you will never be him. And
like this creepy looking face. Bro, she's so creepy.
I did like the bit where kind of like where she says that she shuts down, and then it just pans to the wall of He Who Remains face at the back. I thought that was quite cool. I mean, Messi, from a filmmaker's sort of point of view, the visuals that this series is produced and shots like that, are you loving this? Of how it's being done?
Dude, this is like breakfast, lunch, and dinner served at one time. I love the camera work. The CGI, surprisingly, has been better than almost every show so far on the MCU. But yeah, I love the decision making of the shots. I love the pull focus. They do a lot. So like on specifically on the prune, when Loki's about to prune himself, he just has the prune itself, and then face in, face out between him and the prune. It was beautiful. Yeah, it's really good. It's really well done. 100%.
Yeah, the camera work. I mean, I'm no filmmaker, but the camera work has been phenomenal. I know we've talked about this on our episode, that they just, the way that they are doing certain things, like I've said before, the credits, like even the credits is not just standard credits. Like they have camera work on certain things, like the TVA book or a little thing of Miss Minutes. It's just like random things, but it's just like it's like nice shots. It's just like really wonky of a show, but the camera work has been really stellar.
Absolutely. And then we get to the finale scenes of this episode, where they get Timely back down to the temporal room with everyone else. They get his aura scanned, and obviously it comes up as He Who Remains. I'm not sure how that works, because surely every Kang are they absolutely identical in DNA, every Kang variant, so it recognises it no matter what kind of variant it is? Or you thought maybe that there would be some sort of distinction between variants at some point, so if they're scanning their temporal aura, it would recognise the different Kang variants, I would have thought. So it seemed a bit too easy that you could just scan any Kang variant, and
unless it's him in the past.
This is again part of the reasoning I've been putting forward, that they are one and the same, that he does turn into Who He Remains, because you scan them, it recognises it as him. And then they have a quick argument about who's going to take the multiplier out there and plug it in. And Victor's like, it should be me, so, if anything goes wrong, I can help sort it out. I thought for a moment there was going to be something going on with Casey, because he looked a bit sketchy when he picks up the multiplier to take it downstairs to in front of the thing. It was like very out of the blue. No one had asked him to. He just picks it up and walks away. And I thought, is he being controlled at some point, or is something going on there? Did he sabotage that or the suit in any way to stop them from being able to go out there? Because a few people have pointed out that when Mobius used the suit, there was like a hole in the arm,
right?
And obviously there was a crack in the helmet. And none of those appeared in the suit that Victor was wearing. So whether it was a different suit or they'd just been repaired, or was there just some sabotage going on? Who knows? But then obviously we get Victor's about to walk out, and he walks out straight into the temporal radiation and gets spaghettified with quite a horrifying scream as well, to be fair.
I was shook. I did not see this coming. A lot of times you can kind of predict what's going to go on in like a certain scene. And especially with Marvel, I think the only times that it really had us shook was at the very end of Infinity War. Maybe a couple other times throughout the MCU, but this one was definitely one of them. Like, oh, he's gonna go fix it, or maybe he can't fix it, but he's not gonna die. Like what just happened was nowhere near what I was expecting. And when he got spaghettified, I was like, my jaw dropped. I was like, what? Yeah. I was so not expecting. That was really great plot twist.
Messi, thoughts on the spaghettification?
What if this is part of the plan? What if he just went somewhere else instead of, I don't know, I'm just being dumb.
His temporal aura gets sucked into the loom and then gets spat out somewhere else in time.
Probably. I don't know. Maybe this is all Kang's doing. No, I'm kidding. But it was very unexpected. Like Danny said, you already have that mindset that, okay, the good guys are going to win. They're going to do everything to make it possible. And I know something was going to happen bad because it's too good to be true. Like, this is not that easy. Like you said, for the scanning, like right away. Like there's no beef. Let's go. I thought there's like some problem because it's too much of radiation, like Obi said, and Casey's like they all said like it's too much out there. So I thought like there was some fight back, but I didn't think this guy is gonna disappear like that. So I want to know. I need Thursday to show up like now. I need Thursday of next week. I need to know what's gonna happen next.
Because I can't believe he has completely gone, because they said that he would be playing a huge part in this series. You can't have him show up for 2 episodes and then disappear and call that a big role in the series. So he's got to be here in some way or another for the next couple of episodes, surely. But then we get obviously the moment where it pans all back to them in the room and they all sort of work out what's happened. Very dramatic, and they just sort of realise that, shit, this is it. There's nothing more that we can do right now. And then we get this unexpected but beautiful shot, along with the music in the background of the Loki kind of theme as well, where the temporal loom finally breaks, and a huge explosion goes. And I think just before the explosion properly comes out, you see all the branches that have either gone through the loom or were going into the loom to sort of implode onto each other. And then the explosion comes out, it pans to everyone, looking terrified, really, because they realise what's just happened. And then obviously, as the explosion comes rushing towards them, it just focuses straight in on Loki's face. And obviously, he's absolutely shook. And obviously, the music just cuts out and the screen goes blank for about what felt like an eternity, to be fair, before the
It went blank for a long time.
Right.
I was like, are they going to show something else?
Yeah.
I thought they were going to show something else too.
I thought there was more to the episode. It's just like, nope, we're just going to cut it out, like, dramatic end to it. So
it was blank for such a long time. I was like, did my TV freeze? Like, what happened?
A lot of people have said that this dramatic ending to this particular episode is second only to the ending of Infinity War with the snap.
I can see that.
What do you guys tell me? What about what you guys thought to the ending of this?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that they could go multiple ways. They could go really anything that they wanted to do. If they really wanted to, I know they're not going to, because they're just not going to. But I could be wrong. They could reboot the entire MCU from this moment if they really wanted to. They're not going to because they already have a plan. But, like, what are they going to do? Personally, I have a theory that they're all going to go back to their original timelines. and they're all just gonna go to who they were before the TVA. Will that happen? I don't know, but that's what it has to do. So something's got to happen, right? So like they can't be
dead.
Like you said, they can't all be dead. Something's got to happen. So I don't know. I think they'll probably all go back to the original timelines, and maybe like Messi was saying earlier, we'll see that staff and cape and all that stuff again. I don't know.
It'd be cool if it just sort of starts off the next episode and it's when he's giving the speech to all the people in where he's making them kneel in Avengers. He's like, kneel before me, and he's just like giving a speech. Is this not your natural state? And he just sort of stops like after the speech, and he's like, "This isn't right. I feel like I've done this before."
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So that would be sort of a cool start, maybe. But Messi, what were your thoughts on this dramatic ending?
It was very. I can agree on the part that Infinity War is just like almost as close, or the opposite. Like Loki could be as close as Infinity War on the ending part of it, because I don't think no other show has ended like this bad, or an episode ended this like I need to know what happens next episode so bad that I cannot wait until next Thursday. But it was crazy. It was very unexpected. Like you guys said, the freaking black screen after the wide shot of Loki, it took forever. I thought something else was gonna happen, maybe like a post-credit scene. Nothing, just ended right there. But I need to know. It's bad. I saw the episode before doing this show, this episode, because I wanted to be caught up because I watched it last night. But it caught me off guard again. That's how good they did it. It was like damn, I completely forgot. I watched it like less than 5 hours ago, and then it caught me off guard again. It's so good. It was well done.
I mean, whilst we all know the effects, obviously, of the snap at the end of Infinity War, where we weren't expecting that to happen, that this is probably obviously a wider effect, because this is affecting multiple universes and timelines, isn't it? So this, especially with it not being the ending to a series, you could imagine the impact this would have had if this was the end of episode 6, and then you've got to wait for other shows to
my god,
I would have been so
another
upset.
2-year wait for series 3 of Loki before we find out what's happened to the rest of the MCU. Because obviously I've been reading articles left, right, and centre over the last day or so, and everyone was just like, they've just killed off so many different Marvel universes with this, assuming that all these branches and timelines have been blown up by the temporal loom exploding. This could be more devastating than what Docs did to obviously all these branch timelines and other timelines. Yeah. So I'm quite glad we've only got a week to wait to see what the fuck has happened. I could not bear it if this was the end of the series. And there was nothing that sort of put this moving forward.
That would have been painful.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great that they've taken such a dramatic, as long as they don't do something stupid and just explain it away really, really easily and quickly at the start of the next episode. As long as they make this meaningful as it seems to have been, because they've made it that dramatic, let's fucking follow through on it and make sure the consequences are just as dramatic. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see where it's going to go.
The phone first episode was really dramatic, and it was just OB on the other side. So like you said, I hopefully don't do something just like as dumb as that.
A fake out.
Don't be tempting fate. Don't tempt fate.
Yeah. But I do have a question. I have a question for you. If everything goes to shit, explode and everything, who do you think? I think someone out there is somewhere. Who do you think can either reverse what happened or fix what happened? Who do you think is that powerful enough that lives outside of time and can at least fix something?
It's a very good question.
Well,
there's not exactly many. I mean, there's been a theory going around that
Renslayer is in the void.
But wouldn't that be also destroyed?
Well,
is the void destroyed?
The TVA lives on the same as the void, doesn't it? Isn't the void just like another place?
When the void, they said it was a place at the end of time.
It's at the end of time, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know. But she is at the end. It could be a Loki variance. More Loki variants.
Loki variants.
Well, I mean, I'd heard a theory that there would potentially be a Kang variant who was the Beyonder. And the Beyonder is obviously someone who's incredibly powerful, one of the most powerful beings in Marvel. And he would technically have the ability to roll things back and maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be a Kang variant, but something like that just steps in. It'd be an easy way. I think that may almost be too easy of a way for Marvel to roll out of this and explain it away where all of a sudden everything's being reversed or things are put back to a certain stage where they can change the temporal loom exploding, and it's someone like the Beyonder or the Watchers have got together and gone, shit, they've fucked things up so badly, we need to step in now and actually as a group of us put things back and let them make different decisions so this doesn't happen.
No, that would be
the
cool
Watchers. If they had
Unless this
like
has happened multiple times.
Yeah.
And it just
unless
loops
this
around.
is all part of the plan. But in terms of someone powerful enough, yeah, you'd have to look at things like the Watchers, the Beyonder, and anyone that's sort of like, literal omnipotent level in terms of like power ability, wouldn't you, that would be able to undo this. So I hope they don't go down that route, because like I said, I'd like to think that this is still technically part of the time loop, and and this is all meant to happen as it is, and this is what leads to various Kangs being created and stuff, which is all just weird, isn't it? Because we've already had the post-credit scene in Quantumania where we've got the Council of Kangs and every single variant across the universes that they want to be involved. Which brings an interesting question, is that, if Victor Timely was never supposed to take the path that he did, why is he not part of the Council of Kangs? Whereas if he was someone, does he get invited to the Council of Kangs later because they're not technically formed yet? It's so many fucking time questions that come out of these things. It spins my head too much if I think about it. So, but any final thoughts, guys, on this episode, and where do you think? It's impossible to know, I guess, where it's going for the next two episodes. But any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what's gonna happen next one. It's so out there. Like anything could happen or nothing can happen. I have no idea. I'm in it for the ride, bro. That's
it has got less predictable as the series has gone on, because normally in the episode you're like, okay, I can give some few hints as to what may happen next week, and then it's got less and less predictable every episode. So, Danny, you want to put any dangerous thoughts forward?
I mean, I gave my theory. I think it's the only thing I could possibly think of. There's, like I said, too many possibilities that you can go with this. You can go as far out as rebooting the MCU if you really wanted to. Messi has always said episode 5 of a 6-episode series is always the best one. He says that every single show. He says episode 5 is the best episode. So it might actually be it might be again the best episode. I mean, we had such a crazy ending with this. Next episode could be really something special. So I'm excited.
I certainly hope so. A lot to happen in the last 2 episodes. I'm really looking forward to it, to be fair. It's been a great series so far. But gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on and reviewing this week's episode with me. I genuinely appreciate it. I love your show, and anyone that's not listening out there, you really need to go and give these guys a listen. Give them a follow. They're doing great stuff with their content as well. Tell everyone at home exactly where we can find you online.
Messi.
Okay. So we are in the major platforms. We are on Spotify, YouTube, and also Apple Podcasts. That's where you can listen to our full-length episodes. But if you just want to listen to us just for a clip, we are on TikTok, Instagram, and not a Snapchat because we're not little girls. But yeah, so we're there. Listen to us. We are on Unqualified Heroes. The same name for everything. So check us out if you are interested on Andy's stuff. You're probably interested in our stuff because we are relative, almost the same thing, but just different points. But yeah,
nice. Like I say, I definitely keep advised going to listen to them, especially from them on TikTok. I follow you through my personal account, to be fair. I don't think you're looking at going, that bastard, the Galactic Core is not following me on TikTok, and I'm like, through my personal one rather, I think, than the podcast one. But yeah, give these guys a follow, give them a listen. I will be back next week. Obviously, episode 5 of Loki. Got another great guest lined up, as always. 2 more episodes to go. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But drop a like, drop a follow to both of us. And until next time, I will see you later.
Thanks for tuning in to the Galactic Core Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. But until next time, go get your geek on.